Warning: the following cartoons praised in this video are violent, hilarious, witty, smart, and wacky. They are so funny that watching them may cause you to laugh yourselves to death. Your discretion is advised, but not needed. Well, folks, this is it. The top 10. I've got nothing clever to open this up with, so let's just finish this amazing look at the greatest animation director of all time. Here is the third and final part of my top 30 favorite Tex Avery cartoons. Number 10. Hollywood Steps Out. It's the early 1940s, and all the biggest movie stars are hanging out at a swinging nightclub. Wacky gags involving them happen from here. This is only one of the many Looney Tunes cartoons where caricatures of celebrities play a main role in the cartoon. Growing up with Looney Tunes as a kid, I learned everything I knew about classic movie stars from the Looney Tunes, and they are what got me into the said movie stars. Anyway, some of you are probably ready to call me a bleeding heart hypocrite for liking something that is heavy on pop culture references, but if you haven't stopped watching this video and wrote a negative comment yet, hear me out. You see, unlike most modern day cartoons that abuse pop culture references even though they're not funny, Tex Avery had in mind that his cartoons were going to be watched for years to come, so he made sure that this cartoon was funny even though the people probably weren't going to know a lot of the movie stars that are in this cartoon. And it worked! This cartoon is hilarious. You can watch this cartoon without any knowledge of who the people are in this cartoon, and you can still laugh. However, if you do know who the stars are in this cartoon, you laugh more. I love trying to name all the stars that appear in this cartoon. I didn't even recognize a lot of them at first, so I had to do research online to find out who they were. It's cool knowing that a cartoon is what is making me get into classic movie stars that I don't recognize. Anyway, the humor in this cartoon works because even though you might not know anything about a certain star, they do a funny joke that you can laugh at without having any knowledge of them. For example, Greta Garbo's Big Feet are parodied, Groucho Marx acts Looney, and the Three Stooges beat each other up. Some jokes might require a little research to get, but they're hilarious once you get them. Bottom line, this is an underrated gem that I'm glad Warner Brothers released on the Looney Tunes Golden Collection Volume 2 DVD. Number 9. Doggone Tired. Holy crap. This was one of my favorites as a kid, and this is one of my favorites well into adulthood. A hunting dog is told by his owner that he has to get a lot of sleep if he wants to catch a rabbit tomorrow when they go hunting. Overhearing this, the rabbit makes it his goal to make sure the dog stays up all night. This is a cartoon that I'm sure anybody who has trouble sleeping could relate to. The rabbit tries everything that keeps people up, faking a thunderstorm, making the sink drip water, and pretending to be a fly. The dog goes through hell. All he wants to do is get some sleep, but the rabbit makes it hard for him, which pleases me. This cartoon is, oh, you know the drill. It's freaking funny. However, it's funny in a different way. The gags don't come as quickly as in other Tex Avery cartoons. Some of them take their sweet time, which makes them even more hilarious than the quick gags. My favorite gag is when the rabbit replaces the dog's candle with a stick of dynamite. The dog tries to blow the dynamite out, but it blows up in his face. He has his nose covered with his hands, and then he looks at the damage done while still not showing the viewer. His eyes grow in size a little bit, and he has a "oh crap" look on his face. Every time I see that face, I howl with laughter. Tex Avery was the master of physical expressions. Sorry, Chuck. Tex did it best. Anyway, this is yet another gem that needs to be seen by everyone who's a Tex Avery fan. Number 8. The Legend of Rockabye Point. We're moving on to the part of Tex Avery's career that not many people know about, and that's his career at Walter Lantz Studio. After leaving MGM, Tex went back to the studio where he started his animation career, and that was Walter Lantz Studio, which was famous for its Woody Woodpecker cartoons. Tex showed potential to start a fresh new career at the studio, but he sadly only got to direct 4 cartoons during this tenure, and his career never recuperated. More on that later. Let's get to the cartoon. In this Chilly Willy vehicle, Chilly and a polar bear fight to get fish from a ship that is guarded by a vicious bulldog. To keep the bulldog at bay, the polar bear has to keep singing Rockabye Baby to the dog to make him fall asleep. You can probably guess where this goes. This is a wonderful cartoon. Tex Avery didn't have as big a budget as Walter Lantz, but that didn't stop him. He did the best he could with what he had, and he didn't disappoint. This cartoon is just as fast-paced, wacky, and hilarious as any of his MGM cartoons. I love the peril that the polar bear is in when he keeps getting attacked by the bulldog. You never know when that dog is going to strike, and when he does, I'm laughing myself silly. This was one of the few cartoons Tex directed that was nominated for an Academy Award. And it didn't win. In fact, Tex never won an Oscar for any of his cartoons. This further solidifies my distrust of the Academy. Anyway, this is a wonderful cartoon. Did I say that already? Well, if I'm saying it twice, that just shows how wonderful it is. Give it a watch if you haven't seen it. Number 7. Porky's Duck Hunt. It's a new day, and Porky is ready to go duck hunting. However, he is in for one wacky day. In my opinion, this is the first cartoon that Tex Avery directed that felt like a Tex Avery cartoon. Before this, his cartoons were funny, but they weren't Tex Avery funny. This cartoon changed all that. The fourth wall jokes were perfect, the pacing reached its perfect rate, and there were several gags, and of course, it was the introduction of Daffy Duck onto the world. You can tell just by how this cartoon is made that Tex didn't plan for the character to take off. In fact, he didn't even have a name until his next cartoon, Daffy Duck and Egghead. However, audiences loved Daffy's wacky, off-the-wall zaniness because audiences at that time didn't see anything like that beforehand. So, Tex Avery introduced the screwball character onto the world of animation. Anyway, enough about its significance. What do I like about it? Well, it's a debut cartoon of my favorite Looney Tunes character. That makes me hold it in high regard already. Also, like I said before, I love to finally see Tex hit his stride. His cartoons before were significant because they were more in-your-face than other Looney Tunes cartoons in the mid-30s, but this is the cartoon that lets you know that Tex was going to be an innovator in the world of animation. This cartoon was so influential that Ben Hardaway would copy it with Porky's Hare Hunt, which featured a wacky rabbit that acted just like Daffy. However, when Ben Hardaway left Warner Brothers, Tex wanted to use Ben's rabbit character, but he didn't want him to be like his previous creation of Daffy, so he instead made the rabbit more of a wise guy than a screwball, and it turns out Ben Hardaway's nickname was Bugs, so the rabbit ended up becoming Bugs Bunny. Doesn't that just blow your mind? If it had been for Tex creating Daffy, there never would have been Bugs Bunny. Guess Bugs owes more to his co-star than he thinks. Number 6. Northwest Hounded Police. In this cartoon, a criminal wolf has escaped from prison, and Droopy of the Canadian Mounties is sent after him. Hilarity ensues from here. This cartoon has the funniest, and I underline that word, funniest facial reactions in the history of cartoons. Due to the fact that Droopy keeps popping up everywhere, the criminal makes the most exaggerated faces you'll ever see in animation. These are called wild takes. Tex Avery not only created this new method of cartoon humor, he was the master of it. That's why I love this cartoon so much. I love the faces that the wolf makes. He never makes the same face twice. It's always a surprise. Due to the emphasis that is put in the reactions, they make me feel sorry for the wolf. This is my favorite Droopy cartoon. Once again, he doesn't have much of a character. He just appears everywhere. It's the reactions of the wolf that makes this cartoon great. I really can't describe this cartoon much. This is another cartoon that you have to see to believe. Number 5. Crazy Mixed-Up Pup. While walking his dog to the butcher shop, a man and the dog are run over by a car, and an ambulance recovers them by putting dog plasma in the human and human plasma in the dog. You can't imagine all the humorous gags that you're going to get out of this. Once again, this is a cartoon from Tex Avery's Walter Lantz tenure, so late in his career, he was still able to crank out some creative ideas for cartoons. Sadly, at this point in his life, Tex was suffering from creative depression. Although his peers and audiences were saying that his cartoons were still hilarious and creative, Tex felt that he was burnt out. He felt that he made every possible joke that he could make and that there wasn't else left to tell. He was also feeling pressure to keep pushing out theatrical cartoons, and the stress was too much for him. He left Walter Lantz shortly afterwards and got into the commercial business, directing animated commercials for Kool-Aid, Frito-Lay, and Raid. Tex finished his animation career creating Quickie Koala for Hanna-Barbera, and he died shortly after that. Such a shame. A man that was still full of ideas and was still making funny cartoons felt he couldn't do it anymore. I am truly disappointed that we never got to see where this new life at Walter Lantz would have led to. But I'm glad to know Tex was able to escape something that was causing him stress and got away from it. Anyway, back to the cartoon. Since the man acts like a dog and the dog acts like the man, it leads to some really creative and hilarious gags. I just love how original this cartoon is and how it executes itself. It's one of a kind. Although it's short, it's able to squeeze in every possible gag that you think you would see in it. This is another one of Tex's cartoons that was nominated for an Oscar, but it didn't win. Are you kidding? A cartoon this creative and original and it didn't win? What cartoon did win that year? Truck the Academy. Number 4, Magical Maestro. Okay, I'll try to describe this cartoon without laughing my lungs out. And I'm putting an emphasis on the word try. Alright, so a magician walks into an opera house and wants to be a part of the show. When he gets kicked out, he wants revenge. He disguises himself as the conductor and has a little fun with the opera singer. This is one of Tex Avery's most popular cartoons among fans of him, and for good reason. This is also a really unique idea for a cartoon that is full of hilarity. It's a typical Avery cartoon. The gags come fast and are really wacky. It's fun watching the magician cast several spells that affect the opera singer in some way, and they all work. With how fast they come, I find myself laughing at the fact they come so fast. I also love all the several different types of singers the musician turns the opera singer into. From a country singer, to a hula dancer, to a tropical island tribesman, the sky is the limit. Tex Avery also recycles the hair gag from Aviation Vacation in this cartoon, except it's much more hilarious. The hair practically looks real, and I think I read somewhere that it was so realistic that theaters that showed this cartoon tried to remove it. Tex Avery is the frickin' man. I don't have much to say about this cartoon. If you're someone who'll be watching this cartoon for the first time ever after watching this video, you're in for a sweet treat. Number 3, Symphony and Slang. A man who has just died is at the gates of heaven and is trying to tell his life story by using figures of speeches that are executed in a literal, cartoony way. Here's something different from a Tex Avery cartoon. He takes a crack at verbal humor by putting wacky animations in the place of what's being said on screen. This is a real gem. I don't think any other director ever tried to make a cartoon quite like this after Tex did it. And that's what makes it so unique and special. As always, the gags come really quick, so if you fall asleep for a minute, you've already missed 15 gags. Speaking of gags, I think this cartoon holds the record for being the Tex Avery cartoon with the most gags. I'm serious. I haven't tried to count them all, but I estimated there are over 50, and I'm starting to think that's too small of an estimation. Anyway, I just love all the puns and phrases that Tex plays with. He even uses phrases that I've never heard of before I watched this cartoon. I also love the animation style of it. It looks really different from Tex Avery's other cartoons. Well, I would say more about this cartoon, but I can't. Yeah, that's how good it is. Most people would probably say that this is their favorite Tex Avery cartoon. But I still got 2 more spots to fill. Number 2, Rockabye Bear. Spike is given the job to watch a hibernating bear's house while he's sleeping. However, if Spike makes one noise, the bear will throw him out of the house. However, a little dog makes it difficult for Spike to keep the house quiet. This is one hilarious cartoon. With this cartoon, Tex developed a formula that has been copied in several cartoons, in which a character tries to keep a certain area quiet, but another character keeps hurting the other character. So, the hurt character has to run out of the area to scream in pain, or express any kind of vocal reaction that the character might go through. That's what makes this cartoon so good. It's so funny watching Spike have to run far away from the bear's house to react verbally to what the little dog puts him through. I also love the bear character. Every time he's on screen, I laugh. Although he hates noise, he's always yelling in people's faces, and is always making more noise than anyone else. He's also so sensitive to sound that even a whisper ticks him off. One of the most underrated cartoon characters of all time. Like I said, the formula for this cartoon was so good that several cartoon directors, and even Tex himself, tried to redo it. Although they were funny in their own right, they just weren't as well put together as this cartoon. This is another cartoon that Tex Avery fans hold in high regard. Any fan of Tex Avery, and even cartoons, should check it out. Be warned though, you might have to have an oxygen tank ready if you're going to be laughing excessively. Number 1. Little World Riding Hood. My God. This is the apex of all of Tex Avery's career. In this cartoon, a hillbilly wolf is invited to come to the city to see Red Hot Riding Hood perform at a nightclub, and his sophisticated cousin tries to keep his hormones at bay. Out of all the Tex Avery cartoons I've seen, this is my favorite. When I was making this list, I knew this was going to be number 1. It's just so freaking hilarious. The hillbilly wolf makes this cartoon great. He's the perfect example of a girl-crazy guy. His lustful heart causes him to break the laws of cartoon physics, as he'll go through anything to get a good look at good-looking babes. I can relate to that wolf. Auga! Auga! Okay, getting a little off topic. Anyway, there are a smorgasbord of gags in this cartoon. There's plenty of wild takes, slapstick, and wacky humor. However, I find myself laughing at all the subtle gags more than the exaggerated gags. I'm rolling on the floor by the time the hillbilly wolf enters his cousin's apartment and is searching the whole place looking for Red. Also, the ending, as many times as I see it, always makes the air deplete from my lungs. It's hard for me to describe what's so great about this cartoon. That's how great it is. It's Tex Avery at his best, and anyone who loves cartoons needs to add seeing this cartoon to their bucket list. Well, there's a nice long look at the greatness of Tex Avery, and the cartoons I feel are him at his best. It's great that I have good things in this world, because they're what I need to keep me protected from bad things. What are these certain bad things? Well, tune in next week and find out. Anyway, I'm Benthelooney, and I'm signing out. I'm gonna go hook up with Amy Wong. Auga! Auga!